So that will be just about it as far as scoring is concerned for the second quarter. It will be it, because the siren has sounded, and at half-time, Carlton, with a 7-goal quarter, in fact 7 goals 6, moved to 11-16-82, leading Sydney, who could manage only 2 goals 3 for that quarter, and they've advanced to 5-6-36. He's not been required to do a lot, but his brother, Stephen Malcolm, certainly has.
Yes, he's been a very good player again, and their whole forward line, they've all kicked a host of points, but obviously they've kicked their goals as well to have this lead at quarter time. When you look back again, I really get back to that dominance of Justin Madden, and it just to me seems as though that everyone's a bit fazed by him at the moment. Both Byrne and Parsons in particular haven't had a great deal of control over him, and he's just set up the Johnstons and those running players to just run confidently towards their goals.
At half-time, the Blues lead 11-16-82, Sydney 5-6-36. It's half-time at the SCG, and Carlton, with a 7-goal burst in the second quarter, have opened up a very handy lead. At half-time, Carlton lead 11-16-82, Sydney 5-6-36.
After only 2 seasons in the VFL, Carlton's Stephen Kernahan has already stamped himself as one of the greatest players to come from South Australia. The fast, sure-handed centre-half forward led the Blues to their 15th premiership pennant, and there's no doubt the 24-year-old will further blossom into one of the game's finest forwards. Kernahan's ability to turn a game in a matter of minutes has been demonstrated many times in his short VFL career, and his magnificent kicking for goal ensures he's regularly amongst his side's leading goal scorers.
And Steve Kernahan certainly having quite an influence on this game so far today. With the weather conditions we've got as we check the Nissan ground report, it is no wonder that the players the calibre of Kernahan are performing well. Only a very slight breeze blowing to the left of screen, possibly a 1-goal advantage if you're kicking to the left of the screen. But we've got a current temperature of around the 25-degree mark. It's dry and sunny, and as I said, absolutely ideal for football. Well, speaking of football, the game's getting on in years now, and each week we like to present a little piece of history of the game. So let's take a look at this week's history of the VFL.
Geelong and South Melbourne rejoined the league in 1917 to join Carlton, Collingwood, Richmond and Fitzroy, which meant the teams now met each other 3 times for a total of 15 rounds. 12 months later, Essendon and St Kilda came back to the VFL, leaving Melbourne as the only club in recess. South Melbourne lost just 1 game for the season to St Kilda when the Saints' Dave McNamara, who is credited with kicking the ball 96 metres in practice, booted all his side's 3 first-quarter goals. South improved as the season unfolded, however, and went on to win its second pennant by overrunning Collingwood in the grand final. Round 2 of the 1919 season was a memorable one for St Kilda supporters because the team finally beat Collingwood at Victoria Park after 25 unsuccessful attempts. But the hoodoo wasn't overcome, and the Saints didn't win at Collingwood again until 1962, 43 years later. St Kilda, however, suffered another inglorious defeat in 1919, this time to South, who beat the hapless Saints by 171 points, a record margin which stood for 60 years. South's victory included an incredible record of 17 goals for in the final term. But despite that percentage booster, South's attempts to win back-to-back flags was lost when Richmond beat them in the first semi. Richmond continued on to the grand final, but was led all the way in the grand final by the Magpies, who won their 5th premiership. The following year, 1920, was, however, finally Richmond's. The club won its first premiership since joining the VFL 12 years earlier, after losing only 2 of 16 games. The team repeated the performance in 1921, when it added another premiership trophy to its cabinet by beating Carlton by 4 points. 1922 was Fitzroy's year, when it won its 7th title. But the Maroons weren't as fortunate the next season, when Essendon's Mosquito Fleet won the grand final on October the 20th, the latest finish to a league season, which was caused by heavy rain. Essendon's mighty midgets proudly took the flag to Windy Hill in only their 2nd year there. And the reason behind the team's nickname? Simple. 8 of its players stood just 168 centimetres. That is a mere 5 feet 6. In 1924, Essendon again topped the ladder at the end of the home and away season. and in ludicrous circumstances won the premiership despite being defeated by Richmond in the last final. The VFL had foolishly decided to revert back to the old final system, whereby the 4 top teams played each other and the premiership team was decided on percentage. Instead of celebrating their dubious success, the Essendon players fought amongst themselves in the dressing rooms after losing to Richmond.
The arguments and dissatisfaction that took place following this match caused a leading player and the player of the year, Tom Fitzmaurice, to get up and walk from the room and never return to play for Essendon again.
The history of the VFL, and hasn't the game changed over the years and continues to change? Well, speaking of changes in sport, we've got some great action coming away in the forthcoming week on the Australian Television Network. Following today's telecast, stay on 7 for round 4 of the Australian Touring Car Championships. Tomorrow at 9:30 on Monday Night Replay, it's St Kilda versus Essendon and Richmond against Geelong. And at 8:30 next Friday, the West Coast Eagles take on Footscray at the Wacker. Then next Saturday at the new time of 6, Saturday Night Replay, followed on Sunday by Sydney versus Melbourne. And a reminder to be watching when Jacqueline Bissett stars in the adults-only Sunday movie Class. That is tonight on 7. So we've got plenty of action coming your way on the Australian Television Network. I hope you can stay with us. Speaking of sporting action, there's plenty happening in Western Australia at the moment. We've got the next round of the Shell Australian Touring Car Championships on over at Wanneroo. Gary Wilkinson is over there. Coming up a little bit later on in the afternoon, we'll be crossing to Gary at Wanneroo. First up, though, let's have a look at the match stats and see how both sides are faring to half-time, and still those staggering differences, particularly in the kicking and marking department. Well, Sydney's been complaining about 3 kicks. Perhaps they've got a gripe. 5 to Sydney and 17 to Carlton. The handballs favouring Carlton, also hit-outs going with Madden in particular. We've seen 2 50-metre penalties, shots at goal going with Carlton 28 to 10, and that tells the story. We'll take a break. More from the Sydney Cricket Ground in just a moment.